Hello again, fight fans. Welcome to episode number 146 of the Neutral Corner. I am Michael Montero for Boxing Monthly Magazine and BoxingMonthly.com. This is TNC 146 for the week of November 10th. Coming to you guys a little later than we've been coming to you the past month or so. Recording this Monday evening. And the truth is, Tiff and I, my fiance, we got out of town for a couple of nights. And we drove up to the mountains about 3 hours north of Atlanta. And she wanted to see all the leaves changing colors and all that. We went up towards Asheville, North Carolina. If you guys have never been out there and you're in the East Coast, that part of the country, I highly recommend checking it out. Once fall hits and all the leaves change colors, really, really beautiful. It's very, very remote and quiet. And, I travel a lot, and Tiff and I travel a lot over the past year, really over the past several years since we've met. But most of the time when we're traveling, it's for work. It's for boxing or it's for family, something like that. We haven't traveled and gotten out of town just for a night or two in over a year. So it was nice to kind of do that and recharge our batteries and everything like that. Anyway, guys, so back here in Atlanta recording TNC 146. Thank you for listening. Before I get into news and notes, and we've had a couple of bombshells drop over the past few days while I was gone. Some of it, I still don't know if it's legit or not, including this Floyd Mayweather thing. We'll see. But wanted to remind you guys, my fee for this podcast, okay? This is non-monetary. Of course, those of you who want to pick up a tee, who want to contribute to the channel, you could do that on Patreon. You could email me if you're interested in an MOB t-shirt. All that stuff helps. But non-monetary fee for this podcast, what I ask you guys to do, and sometimes I'll give you a different assignment, a different fee. What I want you to do this week, refer one friend or family member to my YouTube channel, to the Montero Unboxing YouTube channel. I don't give a damn if they're a boxing fan, a diehard boxing fan or not. They could just be a casual sports fan, whatever. Refer one friend to the Montero Unboxing YouTube channel. Okay, that is the fee for episode 146. Let's get into news and notes. Okay, so the biggest thing, obviously, to drop here, and I'm way behind on my emails and everything after being gone for a day or two, being off the radar. But obviously, Floyd Mayweather versus Tenshin Nasukawa. And they're talking about fighting December 31st on New Year's. I've talked to you guys about this a million times, how there's a tradition over in Japan, in Tokyo, that they do fight cards on New Year's Eve. It's a normal thing over there. It's very, very normal. This would be a Monday night over there in Saitama, which is a suburb of Tokyo. It's about 25 kilometers or 15 miles north of Tokyo. So it's in the Tokyo metro. Monday night over there, December 31st, and I think they're about 14 hours ahead of East Coast USA. So, it would be Monday morning here in the States. So obviously this will not be a pay-per-view, and the rights to pick up this fight here in the States will be cheap as hell. So would not surprise me to see this possibly go to network TV if that could be worked out. If not, then definitely going to one of these streaming services like DAZN or something like that here in the States. I don't know a damn thing about this Nasukawa guy. Here's what I know, it ain't much. He's only 20 years old, but he's already a big star in Japan. I want to say he had like 100 or so kickboxing fights as an amateur there. And as a pro, he's 27-0 as a kickboxer. He's 4-0 as an MMA fighter. All of them in Japan. All of his fights, his kickboxing, his MMA wrestling fights, all in Japan. I also know just from the photos I've seen and from the tail of the tape, he's much smaller than Floyd. Picture Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito standing next to Floyd. That's basically how this Japanese kid looks. I look at this whole thing, and honestly, guys, I could give a big, hot, steaming shit. I don't care. I'm talking about it here because I know a lot of you are going to be interested in it. But Floyd has never boxed outside the United States. And once he became a star, he never left the Nevada State Athletic Commission, right? He never left that very comfortable jurisdiction where he could do whatever the hell he wanted. And he was on a first-name basis with everybody in that Nevada Commission and the USADA people, who are a for-profit organization. And you guys know the troubled history with all that. No need to beat that dead horse. This dude wouldn't leave to go over to the UK to fight over there. He wouldn't ever dream of going over to Germany or Japan or anything like that for a boxing match. Suddenly, he's going to go fight this kickboxer slash MMA kid who's 20 years old over in the suburbs of Tokyo. To me, this just screams of Floyd unanimous decision. They still haven't said, is this going to be a boxing fight, some kind of hybrid kickboxing type of thing? I would assume it might be kickboxing. I don't know, but Floyd is not doing this because he has a chance to lose. He's going to go over there and win a decision and beat this kid, and Floyd Mayweather fans will think it's amazing. He's trying to expand his TBE or TMT, whatever the hell it is, brand over in Tokyo, I guess, and this is all part of that promotion. So he could go over there, make a boatload of money, and win another fight. I basically look at this, guys, as a WWE kind of a thing. That's basically what this is to me. This is like professional, and I'm doing air quotes as I say professional wrestling. So if you are big into watching The Rock and, The Big Show and all that kind of stuff, that's basically what this is going to be, okay? All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that as more details come out, but honestly, I'm not going to spend that much time on it, guys. All right. Okay, boxing news. Boxing news that matters. Let's talk about that. Mikey Garcia dumps his IBF lightweight title. He had a purse bid coming up for a mandatory challenger fight, and they canceled that purse bid when he dumped the IBF title, obviously. So now the IBF is going to have the two top-rated contenders fight for their vacant title. So right now, the Errol Spence bout seems imminent for February, and it looks like that just might happen. Happening, obviously, that's going to be pay-per-view. In my opinion, that's not a pay-per-view worthy fight, but I understand why they're going to go that route. And look, when PBC announced their deal with Showtime and Fox, a lot of you guys out there thought, well, cool, if it's a more expensive fight, they'll put that on Showtime, and the regular fights they'll put on Fox, and the really low-level fights could be Fox Sports 1, and maybe this means that there won't be any pay-per-views in PBC. Guys, pay-per-views are still part of the game over at PBC. And their whole plan when they started PBC back in, 2015 was it? I think it was 2015. Years down the road, they wanted to build some of their fighters into pay-per-view stars. And the way they see it right now, guys like Deontay Wilder, guys like Mikey Garcia, they hope Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, they're pay-per-view ready fighters in their opinion. I don't think these fights going to pay-per-view are going to do particularly well in terms of the pay-per-view sales. But you got to understand, for what these guys are being paid, for Garcia and Spence, if that does 250,000 pay-per-view buys, and I think it very well could, mostly because of Garcia, they'll make enough money, and that fight will likely go to Vegas, I would think. And because of the site fee and everything else that they'll get, I think that it'll be profitable enough. So there's going to be a few of these pay-per-view cards from the PBC universe. Now, I should also state that at some point, if Lomachenko could get a guy like Mikey Garcia to fight him, I don't think it'll happen, but if, let's say, a Keith Thurman was willing to fight a Terrence Crawford, those fights would likely be some sort of ESPN boxing pay-per-view. So pay-per-view is still going to be part of the sport. It ain't going away. So you guys as fans have to decide how you want to deal with that. Why I feel positive about the way things are structured right now, particularly if you are an American fight fan, is because for so long you depended on HBO to provide you the best boxing content, and you were paying $15 a month, and you weren't even getting that much damn content. And you knew damn well the best fights immediately would go into pay-per-view. And there were times where HBO, I talked about the situation with Terrence Crawford or Victor Postol, where they refused to put up the money to pay what Bob Arum needed to get for that fight to meet Terrence Crawford's financial demands, his guarantees. They wouldn't pay it, and they wouldn't pick it up as a pay-per-view, so Top Rank had to do their own private pay-per-view. And you guys remember how much that show bombed. It actually did well at the venue in Vegas, but the actual pay-per-view show bombed, and you saw more and more of that sort of thing happening with HBO. Man, now with DAZN and ESPN Plus and regular ESPN, which you're already getting if you have basic cable, man, that's the same thing you were paying for HBO, and you're getting regular boxing programming all the time. And it's not just American cards, you're getting stuff from all over the world. So I understand that the pay-per-views, thinking about Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence, that might be freaking you out, pissing you off, and you already got to pay for a pay-per-view for Wilder and Fury, and that undercard is atrocious. I get it. But you know what, guys? You can find a stream. You can pick and choose which pay-per-views you want to fight or buy, and you can always fight back with your wallet. If you feel DAZN for $10 a month here in America is providing you with better content than even what Showtime is giving you, you can cancel your Showtime subscription. All right, we'll talk more about that in the months and years to come as this new landscape of boxing and how boxing media is consumed continues to change. I'm sure this will be an ongoing conversation. But for now, it looks like Garcia and Spence early next year, Showtime pay-per-view. To me, man, if you put that on Fox, that would be great. And you know what? I'm starting to have I'm starting to lean towards Mikey Garcia in that fight. And I know you guys think I'm nuts, but I'm starting to feel an upset special brewing inside of me. Garcia by split decision or something. I'm telling you, especially if it goes to Las Vegas. Okay, let's talk about some ratings. Speaking about HBO, Sergey Derevyanchenko challenged Daniel Jacobs for a vacant title a week back. That card, or that fight, I should say, that main event, did an average about 500,000 views. That was the average. Now, you go back to Jacobs' fight with Sulecki back in April, that averaged over 800,000 views. That tells you just how far the ball has dropped at HBO Championship Boxing. And good riddance to them. I love what HBO has done and their contribution to the sport, but their time has passed. And it's just like guys like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. For a couple years, I talked this way about Miguel Cotto. You reach a certain point where your time has passed. It's time to walk away into the sunset so that we can look back and we can reminisce and replay all the great moments you gave us, and we can start to celebrate all of that. That's where HBO boxing has been for the last 3, 4, 5 years. So bye-bye to them. 500,000 views for a middleweight title fight in New York that features 2 New York guys. One, an American-born New York guy who's been on HBO for years. And in fact, he fought Golovkin on HBO pay-per-view, right? Jacobs, he's a name. And to average 500,000 views, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. Okay, upcoming fights. Artur Beterbiev is fighting Joe Smith Jr. on the Canelo Fielding undercard December 15th. I think that's going to be an interesting fight. And I say it because Joe Smith can crack. Beterbiev was dropped in his last fight over Callum Johnson. They had to come back. And I think Smith punches harder than Johnson. And he's been in with better fighters to the point that, you know, Johnson hadn't been in until he fought Beterbiev, the level of fighters that Smith has fought. So I actually think it's going to be a fun fight. Of course, I favor Beterbiev, but Smith, hey man, he lands clean early on. Who knows what the hell could happen? Also, December 22nd, O2 Arena in London, the rematch between heavyweights Dillian White and Derek Chisora. That is a done deal. That is happening. That will be pay-per-view over there. I believe here in the States that will be on DAZN. So I'm excited that, you know, I don't have to pony up the dough for pay-per-view as you UK guys do. But I believe your UK pay-per-views over there are the equivalent of what would be like $25 here. Guys, most bars in America, I'm not talking LA or New York bars, I'm talking Atlanta, Chicago, regular cities, DC. 2 beers is $25. So, I think it would 15 pounds, 20 pounds over there, something like that for you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. If they stack that card, I don't think that's bad. Their first fight, which was when was their first fight? Last year, was entertaining, right? And they both fought on the same card in July. Chisora had a TKO 8 win over Carlos Takam, which honestly surprised me. I favored Takam coming into that fight. And White got a unanimous decision win over Joseph Parker. That's 2 good wins for these 2 guys. Beating Parker, beating Takam. Parker is still a top 10 heavyweight. Takam is a borderline kind of guy, a top 15, top 20 kind of guy. He's, fought well against some top heavyweights. Those are 2 good wins for these guys. And they deserve this rematch. Is it pay-per-view worthy? No, not necessarily. But again, with that lower pay-per-view price over there, and that's the thing with you UK guys, it's a smaller country. Go to the fight. Go to London and enjoy that fight. If you the thought of doing the pay-per-view, pisses you off or whatever, man, you guys have such a fun time over there going to your events. They do it up so well. The promotion over there and just the theatrics of it all and everything. Spend some extra cash, take your ass down to London, go to the O2 and enjoy the fight card. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and these 2 will deliver. I favor White in that fight. I just think White has a lot more left. I think he's improved and I think he wants either a rematch with AJ at some point, which I think if he beats Chisora again, with everything he's done, he's earned it. Or he wants a fight with Wilder. He's certainly more deserving of a fight with Wilder than Tyson Fury is. Let's be honest. So that's what's coming up, guys. All right, let's review what took place last week. All right, last Monday, October 29th, Pasay City, Philippines on ESPN Plus. Nicaraguan Felix Alvarado scores a TKO 7 win over Filipino Randy Patelcorin. I know I'm probably butchering that name, Patelcorin. Wins the vacant IBF 108-pound title. You could call it junior flyweight, super strawweight, however you want to say it. Drops the Filipino 3 times in the 7th round before stopping him. Upset special. This Nicaraguan goes over there. And, look, you're fighting a Filipino guy in the Philippines, vacant title. On paper, a lot of people would favor the Filipino fighter, regardless of the level of opposition and everything coming in. But for Alvarado, great win for him. He has twice challenged for titles and both times lost unanimous decisions. And in 2013, he fought for a title in Japan. In 2014, he fought for a title in Argentina. Both times he lost by decision. This time, he brought his own judges to the party. They're called Lefty and Righty, and he won the fight with them. So good for him, man. I always love seeing guys like this who have, tried a couple times and failed, but are willing to keep trying and travel and learn on the job. I just love seeing those types of stories, and it's just something we see in boxing, I believe, more so than any other sport. I just love it. So that was Monday the 29th. Tuesday the 30th, Hollywood Fight Night, which they streamed on their website. 360 Promotions streamed on their website. From the Avalon in Hollywood, my old stomping grounds. This was a fun, they do a fun card every time when they do these Hollywood Fight Nights, but they did it with a Halloween theme. And those of you guys who watched it, you saw Tom Loeffler dress up like Frankenstein. You saw Steve Kim and Doug Fisher called the action, and they were dressed up in Halloween costumes. It was just a lot of fun, man. And by the way, quick tangent, congratulations to my friend Steve Kim. He's a good friend of mine. I love him dearly. And he just got a new gig with ESPN. He's out there in Bristol, touring the facilities out there. I know he's super, super excited. He should be. It's long overdue. the guy deserves it. So good for you, Steve. I love you, man. All right, so Hollywood Fight Night, Ukrainian 154-pound prospect, now trains out of Big Bear with Abel Sanchez and that crew. Serhiy Bohachuk improves to 11-0 with 11 knockouts with a KO1 win. Time for him to step up the level of opposition. Saturday, November 3rd, we had a bunch of action around the world. Let's start at the SSE Hydro in Glasgow, Scotland. It was World Boxing Super Series Season 2 action from Sauerland Promoter on DAZN. And Nonito Donaire scores an upset special, kind of a freak accident type of upset special. Retirement after the 4th round win over Ryan Burnett. Claims the WBA Super Bantamweight title and the WBC Diamond Bantamweight title. He gets Zolani Titi next. Ryan Burnett apparently slipped a disc, and he took a knee in the 4th round. The ref started counting, which was weird. Obviously, a punch had not landed. It was very, very obvious that there was some sort of injury. No, you couldn't tell what the hell it was, but it looked like he kind of grabbed toward like his side, you know. But there hadn't been a body punch landed for a while, so for the ref to start counting, it seemed like he wasn't really in the moment. He wasn't seeing what was happening right in front of him. Anyway, apparently it was a slipped disc, which can be a bad injury, man. You know, my younger brother Anthony slipped a disc, years ago, probably 10 years ago, and it's given him trouble ever since. And he's always been an athletic guy. He loves to run. He loves like marathon running, like that kind of stuff. He's a very good cross-country runner and loves to box and used to go to the gym and would just be at the boxing gym for 4 or 5 hours going nuts working out. Ever since he slipped that disc, it has affected him doing road work, all kinds of stuff. Some guys slip a disc, no issue. Some guys slip a disc and find out that there's a degenerative disc and there's an issue there, and it spreads to other discs. And that's sort of what's happened with my younger brother, Anthony. So hopefully we find out more about this injury for Burnett and he gets good medical care and they can look at all this and he can rehab and get back to the form he was before. So hopefully it's not a degenerative thing and it's just one of these freak injuries that occurs in sports and he can bounce back from this. But this fight was pretty much a competitive, even fight at the time of the stoppage. And I gotta say, everybody was favoring Burnett coming in. I was leaning toward Donaire to a certain degree, not originally when this was signed, but I just started thinking about it more and more and more during fight week. And I was thinking, man, you know, Donaire has a really good chance to pull this off because just the wealth of experience, and he has fought much bigger, stronger guys, and Burnett doesn't even punch hard for a bantamweight. So Donaire is going to be able to take all of it, you know, anything Burnett can throw at him. So I really started to lean heavy for Nonito, who is 35 years old, and this is his best win in at least 5 years. I think you got to go back to 2013, I think it was, when he beat Vic Darchinyan in their rematch, and I think he stopped him again. 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. But this guy went pro in 2001. Titles in 4 different divisions, you know, grabs titles in this fight again on the road, goes on to the next round. I favor Zolani TT, but it's boxing. You never know. Either way, man, Donaire is a future Hall of Famer. And for Burnett, who left the ring on a stretcher, you just hope that he can recover and get back to where he was. Also, main event, Josh Taylor improves to 14-0 in 12 knockouts with a TKO 7 win over Ryan Martin, who drops to 22-1 with 12 knockouts, his first professional loss. For Taylor, this was the 4th defense of his WB Silver super lightweight / junior welterweight title. He gets Ivan Baranchyk next. So he scored a knockdown in the 7th round. Martin was just getting beat up the last few rounds. You know, the 5th, 6th, 7th round, it was just kind of target practice. And he was being tough. He was staying in there. There was no quitting the kid, but he just had no answers. He looked almost shell-shocked to me because he was in there with a guy who was just so much more athletic and skilled than him. And you could tell it was kind of a shock to his system. Responded like a fighter should, like a fighter, does, kept coming, kept trying. But after that knockdown in the 7th, the ref stopped it. And I thought it was a great stoppage. Why keep that thing going? For Martin, he's got to go back to the drawing board and learn from this. I actually think Martin is a good prospect and has a future. But going up against Taylor, Taylor probably might be the best fighter in that division. And look, Prograis had a great fight in his quarterfinal fight against Flanagan. He did very, very well. But for me, this was even more impressive from Taylor. And right now, I rate Taylor number 1 in that tournament and Prograis number 2. Maybe it's 1A, 1B. I slightly favor Taylor if they fight today. It really just depends on where, how, when, all that stuff, all the X factors. I can't wait for the semis of that 140-pound tournament. It's great. The bantamweight and junior welterweight tournament in the World Boxing Super Series this year is awesome. It's just awesome. But Taylor, man, he looked good in this fight. I actually think Martin will bounce back from this and be better. He's got 7 rounds of tape, quote unquote, to look at now, and Taylor might be the guy who wins this tournament. So he's got some footage to learn from and some things that he can rebound and improve on. I think he's going to be back. Okay, let's come over here to the US of A in Brooklyn, the Aviator Sports Complex. It was main events put on a card on Facebook Watch. In the main event, Sullivan Barrera, light heavyweight contender, improves to 22-2 at 14 knockouts with a unanimous decision win. Pretty much a shutout over Sean Monaghan. Scores were 99-91 twice and 98-92. They were good scores. I mean, maybe you could give Monaghan a round or two, but Barrera clearly controlled the action and got in some rounds. Not that he needs the rounds. He's had several long, grueling fights. But this was a good fight for Barrera to kind of get in there. Just coming off the Bivol loss, which is a rough fight. He took a lot of punches. He didn't take that many punches in this fight. And he was able to really dictate the action, dictate the pace. So good for him, and he will be lined up for another challenge. I don't know right into a title challenge just yet, but against a probably top 10 rated light heavyweight, I would think, early next year. In Texas at the Don Haskins Convention Center in El Paso on ESPN+, it was the battle of the Miguels, and this was a fun fight, although it was really one-sided. And after a while, I thought it could have been stopped a round or two before it was stopped. But Miguel Berchelt scores a TKO 9 over Miguel Roman, drops him 3 times. This was the 4th defense of his WBC junior lightweight title. I talked about it last week in the preview. I'd love to see him go up against the Puerto Rican Alberto Machado, who has the WBA regular 130-pound title. That would be a unification. It'd also be Mexico versus Puerto Rico. And anytime you get Mexico versus Puerto Rico, you get action. You get a good fight. But also, look, Tevin Farmer, he's got the IBF title. And Japanese fighter Masayuki Ito, he has the WBO title. So let's see some unification. All right, that division's kind of blown up. There's no top guy. You can say, oh, maybe this guy's number 1, maybe that guy's number 1. Maybe it's Machado, maybe it's Roman. But I think right now most people feel those are the 2 top guys. Let's see them fight each other. All right? That is it for the review. Let's preview what we got coming up this week. Thursday, November 8th at the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio, California. Golden Boy Promotions, another card on ESPN2. And in the main event, local fighter out of Lancaster, California, Nico Messias. He's 17-0 with 10 knockouts, 27 years old, 5'9" southpaw, going up against Jesus Soto Karass, who's given us a lot of action, spilled a lot of blood, but he is 0-5-1 in his last 6 fights, and he claims that this is his last fight. True story. His fight with Yoshihiro Kamagai, that was at the Belasco Theater in downtown LA. I covered that fight. And man, I'm trying to think what year. Was that 2015, maybe 2016? After the fight, myself, Steve Kim, Doug Fisher, Michael Baca, Tiffany was there. There was a few other crew in there, hanging out, having drinks at the bar, at the club, at the Belasco. And a lot of Soto Karass's people were there. They were at the bar, and that dude was pounding back drinks. And they kept all going into the bathroom. So the way that the Belasco is right when you walk into the lobby, to the right is this bar, and behind that is a hallway where there's bathrooms. So that's where we were. And there was one point where I went back, I had to take a leak, and I was going back into the bathroom, and the bouncer stopped me. He goes, "Hold on a second. Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know," and I showed him my credential and everything. He's like, "All right, you can go in there." He didn't recognize me, didn't know who I was at first. All those guys in Soto Karass's crew were getting coked up in the bathroom, just snorting lines, fucking doing bumps, just going nuts in the bathroom before they'd walk back into the bar and get more drinks. Right after a fight. And they just wanted to make sure I was cool before I walked in there. I'm like, I'm cool, I ain't gonna say shit. Walk in there, take a leak, you know, no issues. But every time I think of Jesus Soto Karass, I remember that. Another Jesus Soto Karass story. I was at a fight card at StubHub Center. God, who was fighting? Oh, I can't. It was a PBC card. And I had a glove. And it was the one fight a year. I've told you guys, you know, I go to one card a year with Tiff, just as fans, where I won't work. So I can go there, I can have some drinks, and I can just relax with some friends, with some family in the stands, walk around and talk to you guys, and I don't have to stress about work. Well, this was that one fight card one particular year. This might go back to like 2014. And Jesus Soto Karass was hanging out in the crowd. I had a glove, and I was like, "Hey man, will you sign my glove? You know, mi nombre es Montero." You know, I told him, you know, and he signs it. He goes, "Per mi amigo Montero di Jesus Soto Karass." Boom, right there in my glove. And me and Tiffany were drinking with some friends, and Tiffany got pretty drunk. And I went to the bathroom. I left the glove with her. I come back a few minutes later. She's passed out in her seat, and the glove is gone. Some asshole went up to a girl who was passed out at StubHub Center and stole the glove from her. There you go, boxing fans. All right, 2 stories for you guys this week on TNC. Hopefully I didn't cause too much trouble with those stories. So Jesus Soto Karass, if he has anything left, it'll be interesting to see this fight. I don't know, man. I really do hope he hangs it up after this. That dude has fought hard, lived hard, partied hard, and he's getting to that point where, you know, you could start really doing some damage here. So hopefully this is the last fight. Okay, Saturday, November 10th, we've got a lot of action all over the world. In Gliwice, I hope I'm saying that, Gliwice, Poland. On Poland TVP Sport, we've got heavyweight action. Artur Szpilka going up against Mariusz Wach. Szpilka is 21-3 with 15 knockouts, 29 years old, 6'3" southpaw. Wach is 33-3, 17 knockouts, 38 years old, 6'7" though. So even though Wach is the bigger guy, he's the older guy, he's a lot stiffer. He just had a tough fight with Jarrell Big Baby Miller. The thing with him is he's been busted for doing steroids before. You know, he went 12 hard rounds with Vladimir Klitschko, a prime Vladimir Klitschko, ate 1 million punches in that fight and never went down. Turns out he was on the juice and he was suspended for it. Is there drug testing for this fight? I don't know. But just based on levels, Szpilka is the better boxer. He's younger, he's craftier. You got to favor Szpilka, but that's going to be fun. You got 2 big Polish guys fighting. That's going to be fun. Here in the States, in Miami, Florida, there is an integrated sports pay-per-view card featuring Yuriorkis Gamboa and Juan Manuel Lopez in layups. They have both talked about fighting each other next if they win. They're probably going to win. So if they win in Miami this Saturday, you're going to get Yuriorkis Gamboa and Juan Manuel Lopez 10 years after it probably should have happened the first time, but that could be fun. So we'll see. Also, speaking of Juan Manuel Lopez is a Puerto Rican fighter. Well, speaking of Puerto Ricans, Felix Verdejo fighting in Puerto Rico. And I believe it will be on local Puerto Rican TV. I'm not sure about that, but I believe so. But no TV outside of Puerto Rico. Not even an internet stream or anything like that I have heard of. Wow. You think of just how far this kid has fallen because he didn't take boxing seriously. At one point, he was the prospect of the year, fighting on HBO, fighting on premium cable in the United States, fighting in New York, fighting in big markets. And now, off TV, fighting in Puerto Rico. Well, you get what you put in, right? Manchester Arena, Lancashire, UK. Matchroom on Sky Box Office over there for you guys in the UK. And The Zone here for us in the States. Oleksandr Usyk defending his undisputed, unified, historic cruiserweight title. All those unified belts against Tony Bellew. So, tail of the tape. If you're a guy who just got to boxing, you might look at the tail of the tape and be like, holy shit, Bellew's going to win. Bellew's 30-2-1. Has more than twice the amount of fights Usyk does as a pro. Usyk is 15-0 with 11 knockouts. Bellew has 20 knockouts. Bellew is every bit as tall, 6'3", so is Usyk. Usyk, bigger reach though, 78-inch reach. Bellew 74-inch reach. So Bellew's a little more narrow, but arm length-wise, the same. So as far as height and reach and all that, pretty much the same. Bellew's 35 years old. Usyk, not that much younger, 31 years old. So you start looking at this and you're like, man, it's in the UK. Bellew's a UK guy. He's in movies and stuff. He was in Creed, right? He's the A-side when it comes to the promotion of this fight. He really, truly is the box office A-side when you look at it. He is. So, yeah, you just got to the sport of boxing. You might look at this and be like, holy shit, this Bellew guy might pull this off. But you just take a look a little further and you start to break down the resumes. And I know a lot of you UK guys get pissed off at me for saying this because it's not that I'm trying to beat up on Tony Bellew. It's just the reality. He's overrated. And his market value is crazy inflated. And I hesitate to put him in a bucket with a guy like Adrian Broner because Broner is an idiot that makes really bad decisions and doesn't take boxing as seriously as he should. I think Bellew actually does work hard and train hard, and he gets a lot out of himself. I think Broner might have more natural talent than Bellew. So Bellew, does achieve, but he's just, for the market value the guy has, you look at his resume, there's not much substance there. His best wins, the best wins of his career, were a split decision win in 2014 over Nathan Cleverly. That was a rematch because they had fought earlier. This was a rematch at cruiserweight, right? That was, the Nathan Cleverly win, and then Isaac Chilemba, a unanimous decision over him in 2013 at 175 pounds. So I think he fought Cleverly and Chilemba twice. I think both of them twice. But those are his best wins. Okay? Now, at one point, both Chilemba and Cleverly were top 10 light heavyweights. I never considered Cleverly a top cruiserweight, even though he fought there. But both at some point were top 10 light heavyweights, yes. And Chilemba is still a tricky guy that is hard to look good against. So a win over him is a quality win, abso-freaking-lutely. But you look at Oleksandr Usyk, and he already has wins on the road. These weren't all in Ukraine, but he has wins over Krzysztof Glowacki, Marco Huck, Mariusz Bradis, Murat Gassiev. All four of those wins are at least as good as wins over Nathan Cleverly and Isaac Chilemba. I feel they're better. At least a couple of them are better wins. But then you got to think about the amateurs. Now, he lost in the amateurs. He fought Artur Beterbiev several times in the amateurs. And I think he lost once, but he beat him several times as well. I know he lost at some point to Sean Porter, when Sean Porter was just older and more experienced. But he's got wins over Badu Jack, Matvey Korobov, Tervel Pulev, who is the cruiserweight, Pulev's brother, Kubrat Pulev's brother, a good quality fighter. So he's got a lot of these great wins. He's got the Olympic wins, the gold medals, right? You just start looking at resumes. You start looking at craft and levels. Guys, Usyk is going to win this fight. It will be a decision, but he will win a fairly wide, unanimous decision. That's what we're going to see in this fight. Also on this card, Anthony Crolla, Ricky Burns, and 2016 Olympian Josh Kelly. And of course, if you got the zone, you get all the fights. So you get to see all that action. They ain't just showing the main event like you used to get on HBO. So would you guys like to see me call the main event? I'm not going to call the whole card. I'm not going to go for 3 hours. But would you like to see me call the main event on my YouTube channel? Please let me know, because I think this would be a fun one to call for you guys, and we could watch it together over on YouTube while we're watching on DAZN. So let me know what you think about that, okay? Also on DAZN, but from here in America at the UIC Pavilion in Chicago. The winners here, this is World Boxing Super Series, cruiserweight action, and the winners of these two fights will face each other in the semifinals in the cruiserweight tournament. Marius Briedis, who I just talked about, 24-1, 18 KOs. One loss, and that was to Oleksandr Usyk, and it was a very close fight in their semifinal fight in the first year of the World Boxing Super Series. Going up against an Armenian-German, Noel Gever, who is 23-1 with 10 knockouts. For Briedis, this will be his third fight of 2018. For Jever, this is his first fight of 2018. It's his first fight since a unanimous decision win over Isaiah Thomas last September in Germany. So he's been out of the ring for over a year. Briedis has been active. You gotta favor Briedis big in this fight. I personally believe that Marius Briedis might be the second best cruiserweight in the world. I really, really do. I think he's probably better than Gassiev. I think just based on what we saw in the World Boxing Super Series last year. Now, maybe I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, we'll find out with this fight. Briedis should steamroll Gever. He should, if he is who I think he is. Also, Krzysztof Glowacki, who I just talked about, he has one loss in his career against Oleksandr Usyk. He is 30-1, 19 knockouts, going up against Russian Maxim Vlasov, who is 42-2, 25 knockouts. I've covered a couple of his fights. I've seen him fight live. Good quality fighter. This is for the interim WBO cruiserweight title. For Glowacki, he is 4-0 with 3 knockouts since his lone loss to Usyk in 2016. For Vlasov, he started as a professional boxer in 2005 as a middleweight. I believe he weighed 159 for his first fight. Now, he was 18, 19 years old, which for a Russian, you don't see many Russians go pro that young. But just naturally, Glowacki is the bigger, stronger guy. He's been active. He hasn't fought the best opposition since losing to Usyk, but he has stayed active. He's been winning. You got to favor him in this fight. You just have to favor him over Vlasov. So, in the semifinals, on the other side, we're going to get Dorticos versus Tabiti, but we're also going to get, I think, Briedis versus Glowacki, and I think Briedis-Glowacki is going to be a great fight. And I think Dorticos versus Tabiti is going to be a damn good fight as well. Guys, do not sleep on this cruiserweight tournament. I'm telling you, it's worth your time to check out. It's going to be good. Also, Monday, November 12th, at Korakuen Hall in Tokyo, Japan, Tomoki Kameda, who is 35-2 with 20 knockouts, going up against Abigail Medina, who is 19-3. It was a Dominican Republic native who lives and trains now in Spain. They are fighting for the interim WBC Super Bantamweight title there in Tokyo. Obviously, I favor Kameda big time. Medina's resume, not much there. But we have seen stranger things. And some of the Japanese fighters, they've taken some upset losses this year. But I like Kameda in this fight to take that interim title. One of the 5 billion interim titles the WBC has handed out. Okay, so that is it for episode 146. Guys, again, let me know. Usyk-Bellew, you want a live fight party? I say we do it. I say we hang out and have some drinks and watch the fight together. Let me know what you guys think, all right? Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Remember your fee for this week. I want one friend over to my YouTube channel to subscribe, all right? I'll see you at the fights.